Hello and welcome to Jep's Outdoor Adventures. I'm your host Jep. In today's episode, we're going to be testing out a very highly requested bear load for the 10mm. We're looking at Underwood Ammo's 140gr Xtreme Penetrators. Now, again, I've had a lot of requests to test out this ammunition. A lot of people carry this for bear protection, and I wanted to try and test that out. So today we're going to be going through as many tests as we can to see just how well these loads perform, and a lot of people carrying them for handgun hunting as well. So we really want to try and see just how well these would perform for those different tasks and see if they're right for you. So I already have filmed the entire video, at least as far as the testing goes, and I think the results might surprise you. But before we get into that, I just want to say real quick, the firearm that we're using today is a Springfield XDM10. And it is the 5.25 model. So without further ado, let's get right into the video, and then at the end of it, we're going to recap all the information we collected from the testing mediums, and we're going to go over all the numbers we got from the chronograph, your average foot pounds of force, you name it, and we're going to talk about the 10mm for bear protection, whether or not it is suitable enough for an Alaskan or someone who's going out into big bear country. But without further ado, let's dive right in. Here we go. All right, so here we're going to be starting off with our simulated bone barrier. We've used this for multiple other hard cast bear load videos that we've done here on the channel. It's fairly standard. Here we have our 1/4 inch thick piece of masonite with our piece of faux wool, and we have our first row of jugs. Now these are all filled to the brim and capped off, and we have 3 rows going down the length so that if the bullet tries to deviate, because we are aiming for the center row, we should be able to catch it in theory. Then we have 2 3/4 inch thick pieces of plywood. Now, as you can see, we have shot these with 45 ACP. These were the double tap loads we tested out several months back. This should do a nice job of comparing the bullet wound that you might see here. Now, of course, we are aiming for a spot that's been untouched, but it's kind of neat to be able to compare the wound sizes. Anyways, we have 6 more water jugs going down the length, and then top it off with 1 3/4 inch thick piece of plywood here at the back. But anyway, we're going to step back. We're going to take a few shots. Here we go. Okay, first shot. Here we go. There we go. So here's our first jug. Split it open pretty nicely. Here is our, let's see if I can get you up a little bit closer there. There's our entry hole. Exit hole in the first board. There's our entry hole in the second. And our exit hole caused some nice damage there. We hit a little bit low, but still got a nice shot placement here on the jugs. Let's see. Fourth jug. Oh. I don't know about you, but I see a bullet there. Now I know the close-up focus on this camera is not the best, so I will be taking pictures of the rounds and showing them later on in the video, but it looks nice and intact. I don't see any deformation really, so that's nice. Interestingly enough though, really didn't go through as much as I thought it would. We caught the bullet and I'm happy about that. All right, second shot, here we go. Ooh, that got flattened pretty nicely. Very nice. Now, don't know if you can see that, but there is our second entry hole here. Give you a look at the back. So it did very nicely. Fairly comparable. We hit center mass, so that's nice. Let's see. I think we might find the bullet in this one. We're going to step back. I'm going to search around, see if we can find it. All right, so it turns out it's in the 4th jug here. It only dented the 5th jug. So there it is. We're gonna pour it out, take a look at it. All right, and there we go. Now, in all honesty, I'm a little surprised by the penetration here. You know, I was thinking it would go all the way through, as I said, but it seems like about the 5th jug, give or take, is going to be its cap here on this test. So that's kind of interesting. But we're going to move on now to our next barrier, and we'll give you a good look at that, and then we're going to move on with the video. So here we go. Alrighty, folks. So now we're moving on to our second barrier for today. It's really not that different from our last one, except for our actual simulated barrier. This is similar to the simulated bone barrier. This is going to be somewhat difficult for the bullet to punch through, but instead of 2 3/4 inch thick pieces of plywood, we have one just over 1/2 inch thick cutting board. Now, I know what you're thinking. This is a very big cutting board, and indeed it is. It's gotten a little bit of use, but it's really rather intact, and I saw this and immediately realized this would be perfect for our videos. I'm interested in seeing how well this does. I know when we tested out some of those thinner cutting boards are like maybe an 1/8 of an inch thick, excuse me, they tended to shatter, which would be more like older bone. And I'm curious to see how this one does. Of course, it's a lot thicker. It might be rather stronger. I'm curious to see how this does. This is the first time we've ever tried it. So we're just kind of experimenting. Curious to see how this does. So we're going to step back. We're going to take a couple shots, see how this does. Here we go. All right, first shot with the cutting board. Here we go. Well, again, that initial punch this round delivers is rather nice. As you can see, got a nice entry hole here. I believe that's the entry hole. Whatever the case is, it's played it out very nicely. Unfortunately, though, I'm not sure if I can really prop this guy up here. Looks like it hit sideways. So it did not quite go in like we wanted it to. I don't think this guy went through more than maybe 4 jugs of water. We'll see. I'm going to plop this guy down. I'm holding the camera with one arm here, so as you can see, display that one open nicely. And there a bullet in there? I don't think so. Oh. Yep. I don't know if you can see it, but it's in there. We're going to pour this guy out, take a look at it. All right, there you go. All right, so just kind of looking at it here. I don't really see any damage to the bullet here. Why it hit that cutting board sideways, I am not entirely sure. We're going to take a second shot, see how it does. So let's step back and do that. Here we go. All right, second shot here with the cutting board. Let's see how it does. Here we go. All right, so looking at Jugs here again, very nice. And I don't know about that. It does look a little bit wider than the bullet. I think kind of hit at an angle, because this one obviously hit flat on its side. This one kind of looks like it was turning. Not quite as bad. As you can see, it has done nice damage here, but that's kind of curious. But either anyway, have again the second jug here, hit very nicely. Have our third. So as you can see here, bullet went through here, and looks like it went into this one. I'm trying to look around here. I'm not seeing it. You know what? I'm going to stop filming for a second. We're going to root around, see if we can find it here. Well, upon further investigation, we don't see it. looks like it just went out and it's gone. We're gonna have to move on now to our next test, and well, I'll show that to you here as soon as we get it up and ready. So here we go. Alrighty folks, so here's our next test for today, and this is simply just water jugs. We have 12 water jugs going down the length here, and again, these are all filled to the brim and capped off. We haven't changed anything about them, but all we're trying to do is just show you why it's important to carry hard cast or solid ammo instead of hollow points for bear protection or any kind of wilderness carry type situation, whether you're dealing with mountain lion, wolf, you name it. Because generally speaking, unless you get a really outstanding, well performing hollow point, typically speaking, they're going to go through maybe 3 water jugs, sometimes 4. And honestly, the 4th one is really uncommon for a lot of carry calibers like the 45 ACP, which actually tends to go into 2 water jugs from what we've done so far. We haven't tested a lot of hollow points, but the ones we have typically don't penetrate too far, which is kind of to be expected for regular old 45 ammo. But you know, 9mm 40, some of these other carry calibers really aren't going to penetrate too well when you're talking about hollow points. And that's because generally speaking, they're meant to stop in a man. And although the 10mm will exceed that a little bit typically, it's still a carry caliber. That's what it was designed to be used for. And so it's almost always best to carry hard cast, non-deforming ammunition if you are in bear country, doubtless of the caliber you're using, because it will penetrate far better. And you know, this ammunition we're testing out maybe isn't going to perform quite as well as some of these other loads as far as penetration goes from what we've seen so far, but I guarantee you it will do far better than any hollow point you will find that does its job well, that expands like it should. So we're going to see how many water jugs it can go through, and should show you just what I mean here. So we're going to step back and we're going to take a shot and see how this does. Here we go. All right, here we go. I love that. You see those caps flying off? Part of the reason why it hits as well as it does isn't just due to the fact that it's traveling rather fast. Of course, we're going to see just how fast in a moment, but it's due to that fluting. It does seem like it has a rather good effect on ballistics gel from the videos I've seen on it. So it wouldn't surprise me if that's partly why it hits as hard as it does on these water jugs here. But as you can see, he's played this guy out nicely. Same with that one. Let's see here. Oh, I don't think it went into there. I think it might have stopped here. Well, I'm going to root around a moment, see if we can find the bullet. Alright, so I'm not blind. The bullet is not here. It looks like what happened is the bullet exited out of this jug, hit right here, but darted off. It doesn't look like it either hit with enough power to go through, or hit at just the right angle and it went off. But we're going to take one more shot. We're going to put some more jugs here on the table and see what we can do. All right, second shot here, just the jugs. Let's see how this does. Here we go. All right, blow up these jugs rather nicely. But unfortunately, it looks like the bullet went out to the side here, because I'm not seeing it. Yep, blew a hole open. See, that's why we moved on to the 3 rows of jugs. This right here. So, anyways, we running out of daylight, so we're gonna have to keep moving on. But that first shot, I think, kind of demonstrates what I'm talking about. I think it could have gone into a couple more there if it hadn't deviated. Why it deviated, I'm not entirely sure, but for whatever reason it did. But typically speaking, hard cast ammunition has performed time and time again far, far better than any hollow point I've ever tested as far as penetration goes. On a good day, if the hollow points are doing what they're supposed to and the hard casts are doing what they're supposed to, the difference is night and day. So anyway, we're going to move on to our next test, but figured I'd show that for y'all. Alrighty folks, so our next barrier that we're going to be moving on to, and our last for today, is the Hippo, also known as the cardboard test. And here we have about 92 layers in a row of cardboard, and they have been soaked in water for about maybe 15 minutes now. And what this does is it simulates stringy conditioned muscle like you'd find on an older animal. So I'm interested in seeing how well this does, and it is in a 18-gallon tote, if I remember correctly. So anyway, we're gonna take a couple shots here if possible and see if we can catch the bullet. So without further ado, here we go. As you can see, it's taking a leak. All these things of cardboard, whoa.
Yep, it went through.
I went through, how about that? Okay, all these things of cardboard have been doubled over and layered in, and so I'm thinking we might need to get 2 of these prepared for our next hardcast bear load video. Let's see if that'll do it. So now we're gonna take one more shot while there's still water in the tote and see what it does. So here we go. All right, second shot here with the Hippo. Let's see how this does. Let's see. All right, yeah, we hit it quite a bit lower. Here's the important one. Yep, kind of figured. Went all the way through. So, wow, that's nice. And the wound damage doesn't look, you know, too significant. I mean, it's definitely there, you can tell. But, wow, all right. Part of me was expecting to see the bullet stop in here, but nope, it went all the way through, which is good. Given its name, it should. So now we're going to move on to the chronograph and see what kind of numbers we can get. All right, now we're up to the chronograph, and we're going to see how fast this bullet travels here. So here we go. 1459. Same. 1483, 1502, 1487, 1471, 1503. Very nice. Alrighty folks, we're back. As you can see, a little bit of a change of appearance. It's been a couple weeks since I filmed the testing for this video. Had a lot going on, but I figured I have a good opportunity right now. It's nice weather. I would come outside and be able to film this. So I apologize for taking so long on this video, but it was a very interesting video to make. And the results were very different from what I expected. So let's go over the numbers and then we'll talk about it a little bit. So the chronograph results, as you just saw, are right here. Those are the velocities we collected, and they came out to an average of 1,480.57 feet per second. So, you know, that is pretty good considering the advertised velocity was about 1,500 feet per second. And some of those numbers were right there. Like 1503, 1502. So that's great. I always like it when a company is honest about the numbers that they have collected. Some manufacturers, Buffalo Boar calls them out all the time, you know, not by name, but just saying that a lot of companies will use far longer test barrels than what people would actually use to bump up the numbers, make themselves look better. So I don't like that. So to see that the numbers here were accurate is always nice to see. So taking the average speed, we were able to figure out how much force the round is hitting with. And so it came out to 681 foot-pounds per shot. And a Taylor knockout, or Taylor KO, of 11. So, you know, that's pretty good. You know, as far as the Taylor knockout index goes, it's a very accurate way to measure how much force your round is hitting with. It's taking in not only the speed of the bullet, but also the diameter of the bullet and the weight of the bullet to figure out roughly how much force the round is going to hit with. So you're not just getting a number like 681 foot-pounds, which can sound nice, but it's giving you an idea compared to other calibers how hard it's going to really hit. And of course, the higher the number, the better. The Taylor Knockout Index is a great way to figure out how hard your round is hitting. And I have to say, I am very proud of it. I'm very happy I stumbled upon it. You know, it ain't the word of God, but it's a great resource to take into consideration. But now going back to the video, the recovered bullets came in at, again, you need to keep in mind that the start out weight for these is 140 grains. Now we recovered 3 bullets. The first one came out to 140.1 grains, which is pretty funny. The second one came out to 139.8 grains, and then the third one also came in at 139.8 grains. So, you know, right about there. So that's pretty good. It retained all its weight. They didn't deform, as you can see by this picture right here. So that's all good in my book. Now, as far as the round goes, the name is a misnomer. It's not an extreme penetrator. It's a moderate penetrator. You know, it doesn't hit like a good hard cast. It is not going to perform as well as a good hard cast. You know, as you saw with the tests, when it hit the cutting board, it hit sideways. Now, why it did that, I don't know. I don't have a slow motion camera where I can watch it and see exactly what happened. But, put frankly, the bullet tumbled, twisted around, went out the side, didn't penetrate as far as I'd like it to. I think it penetrated like a good, 28, 27 inches, give or take, on our testing medium here. Somewhere right around there, 26 to 28 inches, which isn't bad, but it ain't great either. When you're looking at a bear load that you're going to be taking into Alaska against 1,000-pound bear, you want something more than that, especially when, buffalo border's 255 grain plus P hard casts penetrated a good 45 inches or so on this exact same test. And actually, if you saw the plywood there on some of those shots, it created a bigger hole than the 10 millimeter did as far as damage goes. So for me, I would much rather take that 45 load, as a sidearm, of course, over this one. Now, I will say this, as much as I really wouldn't want to carry this alone for bear protection, if you pair it with some good hard casts, I can see it working out just fine, just like if you were to carry hollow points paired with your hard casts in the magazine stacked. That's what I've done before. It works just fine. I know a lot of other people do. And, this would work just fine for that because it's serving the same purpose as a hollow point basically, but you're getting a little bit extra penetration and some better power there. That's great. But on its own, I would not really want it for anything over, maybe 400 pounds or so. The penetration just was not good enough for me. And as you saw, it tumbled a bit. It turned, it hit sideways. That's just not ideal, in my opinion, as I'm sure you can understand. But for hunting, handgun hunting, something about 200 to 400 pounds, something like a deer, black bear, hog, maybe something even like mountain lion or wolf, I could see this working great because that fluting does help. It hits hard. As you saw, it hit very hard. The penetration was fine enough as long as it ain't a huge animal. Going for a heart-lung shot, that's going to do plenty of damage, and I think it would do just fine. It's just for bear protection where you're hitting solid bone that I don't feel like this would really hold up well or do a good job. Good hard cast though, something like buffalo boar's 220 grain or Steinel's 220 grain hard casts, or Grizzly's 200 grain hard casts or rounds we're going to be testing out. I'd love to see how those do. I'm sure those would do a lot better as far as bear protection goes, but this guy just ain't going to do it for me. But as far as handgun hunting goes, yeah, I see no reason why this wouldn't work. The 10 millimeter has been used a lot and it works great. I've never actually used it myself, but I know a lot of people who have, and so I have no doubt that this would work great for that. But as far as bear protection goes, unfortunately, I have to give it a no on my end. I'm sure some people would probably go, that's just fine. They might have used it before. If you have, I'd love to hear about it. Please drop down below your experiences with this round, whether or not you would carry it. I'd love to hear that. But for me, it's just maybe not something I would feel terribly comfortable with. If it was the only option I had available, it would probably work just fine, but definitely not my first choice. So it's unfortunate, but I'm glad I tested this out. Thanks to everyone who recommended it to me. I appreciate it. It was very interesting indeed. And again, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Please drop down below your thoughts in the comment section, and feel free to hit that like button, that subscribe button, as well as that bell icon so you'll be notified every time I come out with a new outdoor themed video. Also, feel free to share this video with anyone whom you feel would like it or could benefit from it. I know a lot of people carry this round or want to look into the 10 millimeter for bear protection. It's good to know about the performance of this round. So I recommend you share it with anyone who you feel would like it. And feel free to check out my paypal.me and patreon.com, links down below, so you can donate $1, $5, goes a long way to help support the channel. I really do appreciate it. So anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you guys next time.